Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Sit Your Axe Down. My name's Kyle, and we've got Lucas here as always. This is episode 9, which I don't know what we'll title it. Maybe we'll title it PLS Summer Slam, Tribal Axe, or PLS more discussion on the new rules without Kyle being a jerk like he was the last time. But yeah, this is episode 9. Welcome back. If you haven't already watched episode 8, which was our Ironside episode, go watch that. It's been out for a little while. It just wasn't formally posted, I don't think.
I don't think so.
Unless you posted it later. But it's out there as well.
I almost posted it with the... I actually planned to post it with the graphic that I posted earlier today for the fall finale. But I completely dropped the ball and did it from my phone. And
well, I mean, it's been a busy couple weeks, and Ironside might be a little bit of a sore subject. So, like, you know, we did our episode, and that was that. And so,
yeah.
But yeah, we wanted to do an episode at Tribal, but both of the people that we were looking to have on couldn't stay around. So we decided we would just do an episode once we got back because we wanted to do other things, and I'm kind of glad we did other things ultimately because some things happened that we might not have been there for, and you know that's another story for another day. So
we probably don't need
to
get
another story for another day. But yeah, I'm glad that we were there for that. But you know, glad that glad we're doing another episode now. So yeah, first topic was SummerSlam, PLS Pro League Series SummerSlam at Tribal.
Yes. It was good. I think overall the feedback for sure from the amateur side was encouraging. From those that were there. And then our pro signups were a little bit lower than our other two events. But with the amateurs having the option to also sign up for Big Axe and Knives, it kind of helped fill in that gap. So we were we still overall good numbers. Tribal, great venue to have it at, plenty of space, plenty of food, drinks, full bar, and all the lanes that you could want. So it was great. I think we ran through the hatchet tournament, one bracket. We used 10 lanes to start for the pro. And I think it took 3.5 hours.
Yeah, it went through very quick. It was very smooth.
It was fast. 3.5, 4 hours, something like that. And it was it was good.
Yeah, I think there was, maybe there's a little bit of a misconception out there in regards to the SummerSlam event. I think that I kind of heard some rumblings that all the PLS as it was prior to summer, people weren't interested, and that's why numbers were fading off, and that's why they added the amateur. But we planned to do the amateur from the beginning. We knew at Tribal that we were going to have tons of space, and so we planned to do it from the beginning because the U.S. Pro-Am's coming up. So why not test that model and see how it works and try to provide some feedback and data to maybe help the U.S. Pro-Am event run a little better as well. So, the numbers were down because, we made the mistake of choosing Virginia Beach in the summer.
And so
it was a little more expensive.
They were also just the summer in general. Sure. I mean, if you just did an axe throwing survey for every venue right now, I think that 90% of them would say this is their slowest time of the year.
Yeah, so that particular mistake, that's on us. We chose Virginia Beach in the summer, and even though we did have what I think were pretty decent hotel blocks in terms of rates for that, it was more expensive. So, we apologize to anybody who didn't get to go out and experience the event at Tribal for that. But
we would like to go back to Tribal at some point, but we will pick a different season.
That's right.
Just be aware of that.
David and Rebecca were very helpful in pointing us maybe in a direction for next time that would be a little bit more beneficial to everybody. So
Yeah. So for our amateur event though, that's a little bit different than what they're doing for the pro-am, as well as what they've said they're going to do for next year's amateur tournaments. Our classification was really just if you are a pro league member, or like you were this year at some point, you should sign up for a pro league, for the actual PLS portion. And then if not, then you could sign up for the amateur portion. So it was really cool to see the amateurs come out. There were a couple of people that, I mean, I personally, when we were getting close, numbers were getting low. We were trying to, encourage amateurs to come out. I think that the other thing we did is we didn't do a good job of advertising the amateur portion, and so that was on us as well. So once I kind of realized that was going on, I made it a personal goal to invite some amateur people, that I thought were close by that could drive, and that would benefit from the amateur division. So I did invite Berger, which he ended up winning. But I also, kind of went through and tried to invite other people. I think that also, Troy might have already been signed up, but I did message his venue specifically, to try and get them to, let their league members know about a tournament that was happening, etc. So, there were a couple of other venues that sent some people, and things like that. So overall, though, the way that our tournament worked, that is different than the other, pro-ams that are coming up, for the US pro-am as well as next year, is that we did have the top 4 from our amateur make it into the pro. So if you didn't watch, or you haven't seen yet, all 4 of them, that the top 4, they got paid, obviously, from the AM. But then they also got the opportunity to throw with the pros, and they all won their first match in A, which is cool. I think that's, encouraging for them. And then also Berger and Troy, they went like 6-2 or something like that. They both finished one, or I think Berger 1 game out, and Troy was 2 games out.
Berger finished T7, Troy finished T9.
Yeah, so that's got to be super encouraging for both of them. I think obviously some people would say that maybe they should throw in the pro next time, but I don't. I think that that's part of it. People are going to have good days, and you're going to see that. But I think that's part of the reason why Waddle has chosen to do it the way that they're going to next year. Also, they're not going to allow that top 4 person to enter into the pro or open bracket next season. You can't do both, which is, I think, smart, because obviously people would just then declare amateur, win, and take their chances in the pro, or in the open rather. Sorry. And so I think that, it's a cool idea for us, just because we do put criteria for what you have to have or not have in order to throw in the pro division. But with it being open next season for you to declare a pro or declare, amateur, then I think that, they can't do that, because people would just purposefully, or just sign up for the amateur and then also throw in the open.
Sure.
But actually, that brings up a new topic that we didn't talk about, but something that I think is going to happen. I think they're just trying to figure out what words to use, what's going to make sense. But I think that pro and amateur are probably not going to be the actual names moving forward. It's too confusing. It's not in its intended purpose, is the way that it's coming out. So then there's a lot of misinformation about it, or just misconceptions about the pro portion. of things. And so I think that I think personally for me, I think like intermediate and advanced.
Sure.
And then that also does leave the option to maybe in the future have a beginner
Sure.
division. So I think that it gives you a little bit of options. Um, and then is also, you know, um, like respectful, or however you want to put that, but it doesn't, it's nothing crazy. Doesn't make anybody feel bad for etc. Throwing in anything that isn't advanced just because they've only been throwing for a short period of time.
Sure.
But those have that's been some of the stuff that I've seen thrown around our pro and amateur, and well, why are you a pro if you're not getting paid, and blah
Yeah.
blah blah.
Yeah. Just to wrap things up on the SummerSlam event, I had two different conversations. One, when I was driving back from the airport when I got back with Ryan. Called Ryan, or Ryan called me, vice versa, one or the other. Actually, I called Ryan because he messaged me and he was like, "How did the
How'd it go?
SummerSlam go?"
Yeah.
And this is Ryan Gustin, by the way, for those watching at home. But I told him the same thing that I told the second person that I spoke to about it, which was Mike Morton. And it, like, the only thing I could think of, like, the best word to describe it for me personally was that I felt that it was special. For me, I felt that it was incredibly special to watch the support that everybody gave, everybody, whether they were amateur or pro, at the event, especially during the tail end of the amateur bracket. It was special to watch. The energy was different than other tournaments. And I told both of them that, like, it sucks that they missed out on that. Not just trying to, like, toot our horns, but I felt like, well, it really didn't have anything to do with us. It just had to do with all the people in the room. It was exciting to watch. It was exciting to watch all four who went on from the amateur to the pro do well. Especially Troy and Berger. Like, it was great to watch that and great to experience that. And if you did miss out, go back and watch the live stream, especially towards the end, because you can see all the people standing around watching the finals. You don't see that very often at other tournaments. It's often very few people.
Yeah, people just leave.
The energy is pretty dead, and it was totally different at SummerSlam. So hopefully we can carry that into the next event, the fall finale. But yeah, I mean, that was mostly my thoughts, was that it was special, and kind of I'm very glad that we got to be a part of it.
Yeah, so we're definitely looking forward to being able to do the same type of event in December for the fall finale. And I think our plan, as far as I know, is to do the same sort of criteria. And I think, being that it's going to be in the Midwest, being that it's going to be kind of after the year is over, tournament wise, season wise, everything, I think that we'll have really good numbers, just because there won't be tournaments around. The only chance, I think, to maybe get a different for us to not, is maybe people will say, like, oh, I need a break between now and the next year, and I think that might be why we don't get some signups. But I think overall it'll be good. I think it'll be maybe our biggest tournament of the year.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it'll be good. What were the dates?
December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So we are gonna typically all of our others we've started Friday afternoon, but we're gonna actually do Friday morning this time. To make room for some other things that haven't been officially announced yet. But a couple of other things we're gonna hopefully have happen that weekend, and hopefully we can talk about them on the next
soon
podcast. Or yeah, I'm sure it'll be announced by then. So but yeah, so we'll have a couple of other events, so it'll be good. I think donations changing a few other things before the tournament, so if you've been there before, it's going to be a little different. They're adding some targets and I think removing some divider walls and things like that. So
yeah, I think the only
good fit for
person
everybody
who might be slightly upset with that might be Ryan Gustin. Historically, Throw Nation has been a venue that he's done very well in its existing format. So he might be a little upset. He hasn't finished outside of the top 2 in an event there, I don't think. So two Arnold Classics and then another tournament they did, I think. So he might be slightly not excited about that, but
yeah, or maybe he will be excited about it just being there.
Yeah, it might just be the venue itself.
Yeah, or it could be like the water, or I mean, it could be anything.
I don't know if I'd trust much water in the anywhere near, like, I guess it's kind of middle of the state. I was gonna say if it was up north, closer you get to Flint, Michigan, I wouldn't trust much water.
Yeah, I don't think it's the same. All right, so tribal fall finale.
Yeah.
Rules is the next part.
I'll just preface it with I'm gonna do my very, very best not to get upset or off target, off topic like I did in the last one where we talked about the alpha set of rules. And if we do, I'm literally just gonna black it out. I mean, there might be a dead spot here or there, but I'm gonna not try and go there because there was definitely some stuff that upset me that was going on, but I'm not gonna really dig into it.
I'm probably just gonna keep the same thing that I'm doing on Facebook, where I just read and don't have much to say, just because I mean I think that at this point the people that have made up their mind and don't like it, there's not going to be much that you can do to make that better other than to change the rules to whatever they want.
Makes sense.
And I'm also kind of in the middle of I'm kind of in the middle of the two. I mean, I understand both sides, and I understand why Waddle wants to change the rules to an extent, and then I also understand why certain people don't want to change the rules. So, I mean, valid arguments that I've heard are like, nobody's throwing a perfect season. Nobody is continually throwing perfect, etc., things like that.
I have a hard time with that last portion you just said, because, like,
what?
I mean, we tend to have a conversation like every league night, and it seems that you throw perfect a lot, or pretty darn close to it.
I mean, like, for example, last night we had league, or yesterday, and I threw 3 56s.
Nice.
And 2 64s and a 55 or something like that. So that leaves 2 games. I think I threw a 63 one game and a 62 or something. But
yeah, but what happened last week?
64,
63, 64, 63. So.
But that's not it. That's not the perfect week. And that's only 1 week.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah.
That's only 1 week out of 7. So I don't know. And I'm one person, right? So do they change the rules for one person? No. I mean, like, Noah had a 55 out of 56 season. I don't think he's anywhere near that this season, but it's like,
things happen.
What? Why? So there's, I don't know.
A
I
lot
keep
of
seeing people
factors. A
say,
lot of factors go into it. How much are you practicing? How much are you putting into it? All that stuff.
yeah, but people say there's 8,000. I don't know how many people there are. I've seen 8,000 thrown around. 8,000 people. So we're gonna change it because 10 people can throw a 60 average or a 1,700 or whatever it is. I mean,
So I think
1,700 is
eight
still
thousand.
80 points missing.
I've also seen 8,000 thrown around in there. I think there are 10,000 active IDs, active waddle
Yeah.
IDs, and if you're not familiar with like software terms, like active users typically means people who are, using it on a semi-regular basis. So I think I think 10,000 is probably the better number, but it doesn't help anybody's argument. Or doesn't help.
Yeah. I mean,
Doesn't help the people who are changing the rules argument there. It
yeah.
makes it worse.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, assuming that, and then as far as I know, there's 4 people that have thrown a 1,700 ever.
Sounds right.
Yeah. Maybe you could say maybe 5. But all right, so four or 5 people have thrown 1,700s, at least on the current rules. Maybe somebody was throwing that on the old bull, but I don't think so. But either way, new bull, 4 or 5 people have thrown that. And that's still, people are still like 90 points away from perfect at that point. At this point, I don't know the numbers. I'm sure somebody else could look it up or figure it out, but I don't know how many people have thrown 1,600 seasons, but this will probably shock you. Hayden has still never thrown a 1,600 season. Like that's his goal, is to throw a 1,600 season. And so I don't know. So I see it from both sides. Like, yeah, there's a chance that, maybe this is all too early. I think that Waddle would probably admit that it's a little bit early. But it's because they want to be ahead of changing every year.
From I think from Tyler's mouth from the very beginning, and I think that he said it first on, oh gosh, I can't think of the name, on Brett's podcast that they did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he told us in whatever group conversation we were having, but he told that out to the world that their goal was to not have to change the rules for 5 years. So probably if you're looking at it from that perspective, what they're putting out is their goal for 5 years from now, which is 2028. So, I mean, you can incrementally take out things to determine what would probably be logical next year, but then we're going to have these incremental changes for the next 5 years, where if they just do it now, we probably don't have to have massive changes.
Maybe. But so my thing, I guess, so I'm going to take the argument side of not changing it. But it's like,
are you taking the throwers argument side or the venue
So
venue owners argument side?
Just to not change it. Sure. So what to me, it's like, okay, so there's, let's say 20 people complain that they change the rules every year. But so we're trying to eliminate hearing from those people by changing it once for 5 to keep it from being changed for 5 years. And I would almost guarantee that there will be changes within the 5 years.
Sure.
Something will get exploited, something will get there will be something. Yeah. And I think that and I think that that's, okay. I don't think that they can foresee a lot of these things.
Sure.
But there's going to be something that comes up that it's like, oh crap, now we have to make a change. And so are we really protecting ourselves for 5 years if we're going to end up having to make changes anyways? So I don't know. I think that, they have obviously made up their mind though, that they're going to change it, and to some extent. Sure. And basically based upon the last document that came out, even though it says that it's, the title says
beta,
like I don't know if it says beta. I think it just says um, rules release for feedback
Sure.
or something like that.
I think it
But
did. I think
I
that's
think that
exactly what it said. Yeah.
yeah, I don't think there's a lot of feedback that's going to be considered unless it's like a drastic thing they haven't considered. Because at the end of the document, it also says this is pretty much what the rules are going to be. It says like basically, I don't know. I'll look up the wording while we're continuing to talk, but I think it pretty much spells it out that um, there's this is what the feedback is. Yeah. So it says major rules release for feedback, and then basically at the end it just says how set are these rules, and the answer is pretty set. This is just a beta version, but we don't anticipate a ton of changes to these outside of clarifications.
I knew it
So
said beta in there somewhere.
yeah, at the
Um,
end. So
yeah.
and it
So
says it obviously not a guarantee, but very likely this is the rule set for 2024.
yeah, yeah. So, um, going back to the episode we did at Keystone, there was a job form that was put out for people to give feedback on what they felt needed to change, what type of rules they thought should change, or what things they should consider. And like we've said, whether it's 10,000 people or 8,000 people, 300 people were the only ones who said anything. So
here's
your
one.
chance now to give more feedback. And
Yeah, I mean, people are giving their feedback. It's just
yeah, I don't know that I don't know that all of it is constructive.
no.
While there
I would
is
say
definitely some good feedback that's being, or definitely good things that are being said, I think that there's also a ton of negative. Um, and
there is.
that sucks. It sucks a lot.
Well, we'll
It's
get into that. We'll get into that in a minute. But
yeah.
here's so you bring up the form. The form for me is I don't know what the form looked like. I don't know that I filled it out personally.
I did not fill it out,
Yeah, so
and so
this
I have.
is
I mean,
I
that's
got
why I haven't put much into I haven't complained about anything or put any like negative stuff out there
I don't
just
know that
because I didn't do it.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of like if you don't vote, do you have any reason to complain about the president, or if you don't vote on anything, do you have a
That's
reason that you
exactly the argument
right?
that I think I had said to Tyler recently. So.
Yeah, so I mean, like I get it, but at the same time, that's a little different. You're just picking options,
Sure.
whereas the form, I don't know exactly how it was laid out, but I assume the form was like, what changes would you like to see? And if we let the general public decide the changes, they probably don't know, or take it back. They are probably going to make or want changes that just don't make sense, or they're not a game designer. They haven't studied any sort of game design. They might
Game
not have ever
theory.
even been involved in games. They might not have done any research to determine this reasoning that they want to have XYZ. And on the other side, they might also realize that they haven't done any of that research, and therefore they just don't have a good idea. Like if you asked me what I think we should change, I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to make a better version of what we currently have
Well,
and make it
that's not
better.
100% true.
I have
You're
ideas.
simply referring to Hatchet only
Correct. Yeah.
because
Like
the one change that I know a lot of us talked about, and I don't want to say that you were the one that thought of it. Maybe you were. I don't know exactly, but seven throw big X is going to be a thing.
yeah, I don't think that was like definitely wasn't like my idea, but I think there are certain ways that I have input on things, but I don't think
But
if you had said
there was a logical thought process behind that.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
I
it
have the
allows you to get back into the
capability.
game,
Yeah,
where five throw big X didn't allow you to do that, and it benefits the thrower to an extent as well. So there was logical thought behind that, just like there was for Hatchet.
Yeah, there's definitely logic behind it, but I think that also if I had been given the opportunity, they were like, "All right, you get to come up with the new rules." I would have been like, "I don't know what they are. I don't know what I would have wanted them to be." So because of that, I don't know. I have no real issue with the rules that are coming out, but I understand the hesitancy and the people that don't,
Yeah, I know
aren't
that
for it.
when it first, this is one of those, I hope I'm allowed to say this, because so during a meeting we had at one point, both of us gave very similar opinions to the thought of changing some of these rules.
Oh yeah, when the
As
when the beta was announced,
alpha,
the
alpha,
sorry, alpha, yes, when the alpha version, which people freaked out about the word
yeah,
alpha, when the first version was announced to everybody, the council did meet on it. The council looks over most of the documents like a couple of days before it gets announced to the public to make sure there's no like huge issues that can be, typos and things like that to be fixed. Um, we both were. I
from
would
a
say that
venue owner perspective,
I was against it.
we were against it because
I can.
it it would seem logical to think that this change is going to make it harder, and our league members that might fall in that in between might decide they're done, or it might also make it more difficult for us to get new league members. However,
Yeah.
I don't even use the league target for customers.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't. I think at my.
So I'm not
I
I'm
wasn't super worried about that part.
yeah, I'm not incredibly worried that I'm not going to get new throwers, but there are a lot of league members that I've had for 2 or 3 years now at this point that have been, exponentially getting better, that might decide that it's done, or that their time is done. But one of the biggest things, and there's been a couple venue owners that I've seen commenting on the rules in a negative light, that maybe this helps you, but the more negative you are about these new rules, the more your league members that you're around every single day are also going to hate these new rules. So if you can find positive in the new rules and you can talk positive about them, that will hopefully leak over into your league members' thoughts, and hopefully they'll stay positive about it as well. So, but I mean, ultimately,
Yeah.
you're not going to be able to change everybody's opinion.
Right.
But if you're super negative on it, the likelihood of your league members being negative or hateful towards it just going to continue to grow.
Yeah. But my stance on the whole thing is that I don't know what I don't know.
Sure.
So until we throw, I'm not going to have a ton of negative or positive for the change. From the Waddle side, I think something I didn't touch on, but like some of the things that made sense from Waddle, other than the whole 5-year thing, or reasons why they feel like they need to get ahead of it, is that I will say, for example, if you just looked at statistics only, probably last year there were, let's say, 20 people that statistically could have won worlds. And that might even be high. It might have been 12. Let's say there's 12 people statistically for Hatchet that could have won worlds. And then I think statistically, yeah, I mean, anybody could have won.
Sure.
Right. But just if you purely looked at stats and we're trying to make a projection and predict who, or a prediction, and see who was going to win, and you were using stats, there were probably 12 to 15 people that realistically were probably going to do it. And realistically, I think you probably could have gotten really close to getting that. The 4 people that made it on TV, I think you could have gotten out of those brackets.
Yeah.
And so then if you looked at if right now we had I know the USA Pro-Am thing is later in the year, but if the US Open had happened at the same time this year as last year, I think that you would have seen that number drastically increase to probably double. I think you statistically could have looked and said, there's 20 people now that have a chance to win this tournament. So by the time we actually get to the Pro-Am, I think it maybe doesn't double, but maybe triples from Worlds. And I bet there's probably 30 something people that realistically could do it, right? And then by the time we get to Worlds in 2024, which will be still under the current rule set, I think there's going to be like what?
5 times. It would be a multiple of 5 at that point.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's going to be like 50, 60 people that.
And the reason is, we talked about this in an earlier podcast. Statistically, on the existing target, throwers basically outside of the top 8 on the leaderboard are getting better by a half a point per season.
Yeah.
And at some point, likely by Worlds next year, if the rules didn't change for winter season, which they are, you're likely looking at the top 150 throwers being at a 58 average or higher.
Yeah. And so
that's a big influence to change. I mean, that's
people are going to say, why is that a bad thing? I don't know necessarily that it's a bad thing for everybody or anything like that. I don't know the best way to put it, but
I think
it kind of sucks if you have like
stagnant.
I just think it makes it to where if there's any of the 40 people that can win, which anybody could win, but if the entire pool of tournament entries, if everybody can win, it's now we're talking that people are going to lose by just the very, very smallest minuscule things. It's going to be not more of you throwing well, but more of them throwing one errant throw. And it's kind of like that now already, but imagine if every match was like that. And I think that because obviously there's a plateau, right? I mean, we just went over only 4 or 5 people have thrown a 1700. Only one person's done it more than once. And so there's a plateau. It's, people can't not that Noah is bad or anything. Noah threw a really great season last season. I haven't looked at his numbers because I can't get the venues to work correctly, but I haven't seen him at the top on there this season. So it tends to show you that, like, even though he hit this point, it wasn't like he stayed here. He still is going to have a little dip, right? Because It's not, you can't be, consistency is so hard.
For sure.
So that plateau, if everybody reaches that same plateau, then it's just a bunch of waves of little differences that cause it. And I just think having everybody be at that same level just wouldn't be fun. I mean, imagine if they brought back the old bullseye and the old kills. How much fun would tournaments be? What would be the point of tournaments, right? Because then you're literally just waiting for somebody to finally miss. And so it does need to get more challenging in order to keep that continuing. Another thing that kind of brings up is, with it being stagnant, is TV. People are so determined to make that they change the rules for TV.
100%. I'm glad you brought this up because I'm excited to talk about this.
I'll just go ahead and say it. I think that unfortunately our time, our days on ESPN are numbered.
100%.
And it's not because of the product.
Nope. And I can tell you exactly why. I've done a lot of. I spend
Kyle can speculate on why.
I can speculate on exactly why, but
by using information.
Yes,
but
by using.
I just don't want anybody. I'm tired of reading that, oh, they're changing the sport so that it's entertaining for TV. It's just,
that's a plus if we're on TV, for sure.
yeah. I mean, I think that it does make it more exciting. I think it does bring more eyes to it if it's more exciting. But I can tell you that right now, they are not changing anything to try to save themselves from no longer being on ESPN or to make it to where they can stay on ESPN, anything like that, because ESPN is not interested in, this is what Kyle is going to say, but they're just not interested in shows that they don't control.
Sure.
Or
so that's
segments that they don't
exactly
control.
right, and I also believe that you can tie it back to the writers and actors strike that's going on right now too, which is going to affect a lot of regular television shows, movies. You're going to see a lot more reality stuff. Although sports and stuff is technically reality show, so that's good. But gosh, what was it? A month and a half ago, 2 months ago. So I watch a ton of ESPN. I have since I was a young kid. So I mean, it's you see the same anchors, the same broadcasters on all the time. Well, went to bed one night, woke up the next day, and something like 40 of the top broadcasters, former sports stars, major watched afternoon ESPN shows, they just all got fired. Shows started getting canceled left and right. And it's because of creative control.
They weren't throwing from 15 feet. Oh.
Yeah. So it's creative control. So Disney, ultimately the owner of ESPN, wants to have creative control. They realize that they in-house can produce documentaries like The Last Dance, and they virtually have an unlimited supply of stories that they can produce on their own that are going to drive in the same people in their target demographics that they want, and they're going to drive in the same advertising dollars or more advertising dollars. And if they can do that themselves, well, it saves them money. And that makes perfect sense. And when all of those broadcasters and people who run those shows have those clauses in whatever contracts they have that they reserve the rights for creative control, well, you either stay on board or you don't. And I mean, when it comes to being entertaining, the Barstool shows that they canceled, I mean, if you watch anything Barstool, they're almost always entertaining. But you can guarantee they're not going to give up creative control. And so, see you later. They're going to bring in people that are, I mean, not necessarily yes men, but if you understand how Waddle's setup is with axes, like Lucas is right. Like, I think the days on ESPN are numbered as much. I mean, and hopefully we're wrong.
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely be wrong. This is just speculation, just based upon what has happened recently with ESPN. I mean, I think it is apparent. Obviously, Knife is no longer on ESPN. Again, I think if you purely think that excitement is or interesting is what keeps it on ESPN,
yeah, well, Axe would have been gone first.
Axe would have been gone. Yeah, and Knife would be the only thing that stayed. Knife, they would have just done Knife and Duels broadcasts.
Yeah, like there's what's exciting.
Yeah, those are the two most exciting of the four, and so that's all you would have seen are Duels and Knife Duels, probably, because that's probably going to be even more exciting. But those would have been the things that you saw on TV that got it. But the reason that Knife is gone is not because it wasn't exciting enough. I think that it's purely a control thing from the ESPN side.
Decision.
Yeah, no, and that's obviously a business decision. So ways that we could stay on ESPN would be if for some reason they wanted to have creative control, and Waddle allowed that, or WKTL allowed that, but
maybe I don't think that option, and maybe that's not. I don't know. It's not an option.
Again, we don't have any actual facts for this as far as the actual relationship between Waddle or WKTL and ESPN. So I have no idea what the contracts look like or anything, but that is what it seems like to us, is that ESPN wants their own content and control over that content, and that's not how the events have been produced in the past for Waddle and WKTL.
Sure.
So brings us back to the main point. Tired of seeing that. Tired of seeing that, they're changing this to make it more exciting for TV. It's just not the case. So any argument you have for that, as far as I'm concerned, I just stop reading, because you don't have a educated reason for saying that. You're just guessing because that it is boring to watch on TV.
Yeah.
But
I will also
say
on that topic, and I told Lucas this yesterday, if anybody watched Lucas's live stream with Hayden the other day throwing the new rules,
just as boring.
Just as boring. I fell asleep, to be quite honest. I fell right asleep,
but
and only knew that I woke up when my phone died, and there was no sound being played. So
okay, but I'll say this also about the boringness of the things. Every broadcast, like take yourself onto YouTube right now and type in 2019 World Axe Throwing broadcast and watch them in order and see how much more exciting it has gotten and how much more watchable it's gotten.
Go to 2018, because 2018 to 2019 is also a big change.
Well, yeah, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Just each year it gets better. So I'm excited to see how.
Not even necessarily each year, but each broadcast. So U.S. Open to Worlds,
U.S. Open
was drastically better.
Yeah, so check those out. I think you'll see big differences. I think we've talked about that before, but it's crazy how much better it's gotten. So props to the production company and Mario, Waddle, everybody that's been a part of those. They have definitely gotten better each year, and each event. So all right, so that's tired of seeing that. What else are we tired of seeing about the rules?
So this was just one, although I saw it mentioned a couple different times, but I saw someone mention cornhole.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Before you get into cornhole,
well, this is it's not much about cornhole. It's kind of describing why there's a major difference between. Even though I use cornhole all the time when I try to argue things with council stuff. I use it for a lot.
That's where I was headed. Just I think that it's so easy to cherry pick whatever sport. I know this isn't what you're going to say, but it's so easy to cherry pick a sport and a change that they have made or not made and make your argument work. And so I just don't think that's not how it works. Like everybody can find an instance of something in a sport that does exactly what you're saying, and I can also then go and find another thing in another sport that does exactly what you're not saying. So like the whole like amateurs getting paid and pros not, bunch of false stuff posted about that. There are plenty of sports out there where the amateur gets paid.
Here's a great example
where amateurs don't get paid.
Amateurs in every major stick and ball sport. So anybody who's not in the NFL, the Major League Baseball, the NBA are college athletes. It took college athletes more than 100 years to be able to legally get paid for their NIL, while the colleges and universities they played for got millions and millions of dollars. So it took a long time for that to happen.
Yeah. I had not even considered that.
It's a good argument.
I was only thinking of like disc golf. I know, like, just from limited research.
Sure.
Like, as an amateur, you cannot win money.
But you have to pay to get in. You have to pay to get into the event.
Oh yeah, and golf, just regular golf, PGA. If you are declared an amateur, you also cannot win money. The only money that you're allowed to win is off of hole-in-one contests. You can take home that money. If you win money in the other, you do not get money. And then also on the flip side of that, as a pro, for the PGA. If you signed and be a pro, you do get a pro bonus. You get paid $500,000, I believe is what it was, but you don't earn any of the money that you win until you reach over $500,000. So it's just like there's so many different things in sports. Like, so it's just so crazy that people keep bringing up other sports to prove their points, because I can literally just find another sport that disproves your point.
So my comment on cornhole was actually going to be about somebody had commented on somebody's post on cornhole and talked about how basically cornhole was a niche sports. There's also niche sports started around the same time, and they have millions of dollars in sponsorships flowing through. They have a lot of big name sponsors. 100%. Absolutely agree with everything that was said. And I want to explain why they have those sponsors. The easiest way to explain it is that that sport offers major return on their investment. And here's why. You can go to Walmart or wherever, buy whatever cornhole boards you want, and you can play cornhole in your backyard on every weekend, on every weeknight. And just a couple of those sponsors: Bush's Baked Beans, Johnsonville Brats, Mike's Hard Lemonade, Bud Light. Those are things that people grill in their backyard. They make at barbecues. They're going to drink in their backyard. All of those things tied with cornhole are going to provide a direct major return on their investment. And until axe throwing is more easily done at your house, it can be done now. It's just not easy. People aren't putting that effort. But until it's more easily done at home, it's going to be harder to find those companies like Johnsonville Brats or Bush's or Mike's Hard, or until you can provide a major return on investment. Now, as we recently, with Murderers Row, brought in a sponsor called Dadwater, an alcohol brand, it's a lot of work to try to make sure it's worthwhile for a company like Dadwater to prove an ROI. And so we're doing everything we can. I mean, we had Dadwater on our PLS broadcast. It's on our shirts. It's on our jerseys. It's not on this episode's podcast, although I was trying to do it before we started to put their logo on there as well. But we're talking to venues and trying to see if venues are interested in bringing in their products and stuff. So that's one thing I think in general. This is a whole nother topic that we could spend hours on, but in general, every time there's a televised broadcast, there's people going out asking for people to sponsor their jerseys. Are you providing those companies a true return on your investment? Or on their investment, sorry? Or are you just asking for a sponsor to help you get to the event and that's all you do? Because then that sponsor's likely just going to be a one and done.
Yeah, so, I think it's more of just like a handout type of thing for a lot of sponsorships. So I actually don't, I mean, sponsorship is probably the correct word, but I always try to, when I'm looking for sponsorship, I try to refer to it as like a partnership, because I want to give something back in return. Sponsor is more like, give me your money and I'll put your name on this banner, and that's what you'll get.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing with cornhole and other sports that have sponsors that the World Axe Throwing League has not been able to acquire just yet is that, so cornhole has been able to basically, there are, I mean, hundreds of brands of bags.
Yep.
There's different types of boards. There, I mean, not a ton of those, but there's
more like different decals on boards, different designs on boards.
Yeah, but there are also different board, like there are different qualities of boards.
Sure.
Right? So you can go to Walmart and get a $20 set, probably some crappy, mass produced thing, or you can get, high quality ones that are used at tournaments and things like that. There's just all of these other brands that are coming from outside of the industry and able to, get their foot in the door and
Sure.
and do all of these things. Whereas right now, there's just not a ton of that is happening in axe throwing. There, well, like what is the equipment for axe throwing other than there's the axes, a bag. I mean, kind of out of things at this point, right? Like
I
we
mean, you
don't.
could say wax. You
You
could
could, but I can
say
tell you that I've never
grips. You
used
could
wax on any of the
say
things. I've never used grip on anything.
you personally know, but the
Yeah, but
maker
I'm
who
saying
made your
like
axe, yeah,
so.
yeah,
But there's like there that makes it much smaller, right? So now
sure,
they're not marketing to this; they're marketing to the 12 makers that make handles on a regular basis.
sure.
So it's just much smaller. There's just levels and steps to this that are going to take a while. I mean, the next thing would be if a well-known manufacturer of equipment made a throwing axe that was actually useful and competitive. That would be, I think that would make leaps and bounds for the industry, right? Because
Sure.
then, okay, so let's say that it's, Ryobi. Ryobi decides to make an axe.
Electric axe.
Yeah, they've got the 12 volt, 24 volt, 18 volt, whatever you've got your axe. And now they have huge marketing dollars that they can put behind
Sure.
it, right? So where's the best place for them to advertise? Obviously, with the World Axe Throwing League, where hopefully that axe is used the most because they've made a competition thrower. So then,
Nope.
what?
They cannot make a competition throw.
They have made a axe that is thrown for competition.
Okay. Perfect. Better.
So that obviously brings a lot of money into the sport. The other cool thing is this is how sports typically work. If you've ever, or just sponsors, or just how marketing works, etc. The second that Ryobi made one,
Yep. Milwaukee.
I bet there would be two or three other companies.
Cobalt, Craftsman.
If it did well at all, there would be so many other companies that would now want to compete, right? Like the second that, Nike signs somebody, Reebok is then trying to sign the next person, or vice versa, or Adidas, or all these other companies that are competing. I mean, like if you watched the movie Air, then you see that like that's who they're competing with, is the other brands.
Which is a great movie to watch, even if you're not a basketball or Michael Jordan fan. Great to watch.
Yeah, so that's how it would be. And so things like that are going to need to happen. The thing right now is that there's just not a lot of room for that, because World Axe Throwing League makes their own axes, and they're pretty good. I mean, people complain about things, whatever, but I mean, if you go to a tournament, you go to a league night, 90%, if not more, are going to be World Axe Throwing League brand axes.
Sure.
Maybe with a different handle, maybe with things like that. Those custom things are going to be a little harder for them to ever be able to be a major sponsor for things. So handle makers and stuff like that aren't going to be able to do that. But I don't know. I think that's where things would need to change on sponsors, is somebody's going to have to get their foot in the door, and then that's going to bring all these other things, right? Like, I don't know what came first for cornhole, but if Bush's Baked Beans was first, I bet they had a lot to do with
I think Johnsonville.
Yeah,
Johnsonville was the
so
first.
If Johnsonville was first, I bet that had a lot to do with Bush's Baked Beans coming on.
Like, sure.
Those types of things are going to happen. And so like the PBR thing, I don't know where that stands, what that looks like, but I think if, we haven't had a broadcast yet where that's been on. So I think it'll be interesting to see, once that's out there and advertised and more mainstream, will we see other drinks, other food, other things in that same kind of category that maybe step up and want to be a sponsor as well? Hopefully. But I don't think that you'll really know until something like that gets kind of out there and put on a commercial and shown during the during the event. So hopefully after the USA Pro-Am thing, we'll have a little more information. But
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, I think that's a great way to look at it. And that's not a knock by any means towards Waddle, because they make
no,
axes or knives, and it is what it is. And there's no knock at all. They make a great product. So
yeah, I was about to say, as far as I'm concerned, great product. I know
even
people
the what they deem as bad products are still
usually
good
pretty
products.
good.
I mean,
Yeah,
the axe that seems to work for me right now is one of those quality control kings with a goofy half square, half round handle. But yeah,
whatever
is what it is.
Um, let's see. We got off a little bit there. Kyle was talking about uh cornhole and that stuff, and so
Yeah, we were
that's
just talking about the new
we
rules.
got
I
into
think
sponsorship somehow.
one of the other things that it's easy. You can take whatever we're likely about to say right now, and you can misconstrue and twist up the words in whatever way you want. At the end of the day, like Lucas said earlier, if you have an opinion, it's going to be really hard to change your opinion. I'm really tired of what we've seen over the past couple days, where people are creating this narrative that the pros don't care about the amateurs. I'm tired of seeing that, because it's 100% not true.
Yeah,
for the majority. I can't speak for everybody, but it does suck personally to be grouped in with that if that's what you believe, because I absolutely want everybody to succeed. I mean, I just said earlier
I'll be honest, I would rather that just me succeeds most of the time. No,
sure.
But all seriousness, yeah. I mean, it's annoying.
It sucks that particular narrative took off with at the speed that it did, and it really does suck to see that. There was one comment in particular, and I took a screenshot of it so I would remember it. And I'm not gonna say any names, but oh gosh, I took a whole lot of screenshots. Shoot. But this person had basically said that this person had said something along the lines of that they had been shoved out of the way by a pro at a tournament, or made to feel like they were lesser at a tournament by a pro. I would love if there's a thrower out there, amateur, pro, whatever. If this happens, I'm inviting you to please tell me, and I'll do my best to put whoever that was in their place. Because I think for the majority of throwers who are traveling to tournaments, it's all about community. And if there are pros out there who are doing that, I don't think they belong in the community. So more than happy to listen and be all ears for anybody who has any experience similar to that, and do what we can to try to make sure that doesn't happen. So
yeah. I was trying to do some math. It's too hard. Well, because there's too many. There's just different equations and stuff. It doesn't work out. Because my thing that I keep seeing people post is like, about the 90-10 split for majors and tier 1 or whatever they're calling them, and and then the 80-20 split. People keep acting like they've already signed up for these tournaments and they already know the pricing of things, and they already know how the payouts are, what exactly they're going to come to, and all of this stuff. Because I would venture to say that the amateur portion signups are going to be less than the pro, is my guess.
In terms
I would
of
say it.
cost?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like if a pro if the open tournament is $100, I would assume that the
So you would
um
speculate.
yeah, the amateur is going to be less than that to sign up. So 60, 70, 80, I don't know. Depends on the tournament, depends on what the, what they want the prize pool to be. Um, and so actually, if you kind of flip those numbers, some of the, I guess, well, I'd have to do the math. So scratch that idea. But I think that the overall thing, I mean, I think a lot of people have made great points about how, like, if you truly are throwing in the amateur and are somebody that should be throwing in the amateur, then I think you definitely increase your chances to go home with some money, as well as to go home with a win, as well as to go home, not getting beat by 20 points in every game that you threw, or you know just feeling better overall and having a stepping stone goal to get to versus this huge gap of jumping and climbing a wall to get to the next goal, or you're going to have smaller goals that you'll be able to obtain. First goal, don't go 0-2. Okay, great. Then your next amateur tournament, you know get 2 wins, go break even 2-2 on your wins and losses. Next goal would be to try and get into the money, I think, or to just increase those wins every time. And then you can get to the point where if you increase those wins every time, you're going to eventually go home with some money. And I think without having the amateur part, you wouldn't be able to get to that point. But on the flip side, if you made it to where it was 50-50 split for the money, why would somebody not just throw in the amateur every time?
Sure.
So I that part has been the hardest one for, I think, people to wrap their head around, just because initially when you do see the numbers, you're like, oh, that doesn't make any sense at all. I know that Tyler is working on, all right, I'm pretty sure that he's working on, some actual numbers to show people what those prize pools will look like. I think that the numbers for our prize pool was like 20 something percent is what we did at our amateur tournament. So
that's about right. Yep.
we did a little bit more than that. And there's, I think that as long as you're paying out the minimums, you can also add money. So there's nothing that says that I think you couldn't pay more as well. So I don't know. I think as long as you meet the minimum for the open and paid that part out, I think you might be able to pay more to the AM portion.
Probably right.
That's pure speculation. I don't know for sure, but I think that it's not going to be as bad as people are making it out to seem. And I think that people are just using this as a way to create division more so than the division that people have been asking for, but more so just on a personal thing, that all of the pros, or what people keep saying as elitist or elite, are just purely in it to only make money, only worried about getting themselves on TV, etc. And as someone that has been on TV and someone that has made money at tournaments, that sucks, because I spend a lot of time trying to talk to amateurs, like I said, and inviting them to come to these things, trying to grow the sport by actually growing the people that are in the sport. And so it's just really frustrating to see that and be put into this category of elitist when I feel like I at least try to not ever, come off that way. And definitely don't ever intend to come off that way. Um, when I'm doing anything with axe throwing, whether it's throwing,
I think
judging.
we mentioned it in the first episode that that I think both of us are kind of the same way, that we don't necessarily outwardly go out and talk to everybody that we see.
Yeah.
But both of us are extremely approachable. If you come and talk to us, we're more than happy to talk to you and
Yeah.
have those conversations. And if it has ever seemed different, just say something.
Yeah,
We're
send me a message.
Happy to talk about it. One other thing that I saw, and I know we've had this conversation personally, we've had this conversation with the other person, but I think somebody commented and said something along the lines of like, I think they even named Tyler and said, if he's the one that's creating the rules, then he shouldn't be able to throw. And I think somebody commented on one of my posts and said that like anybody who is on the council or has any type of input, or the powers that be shouldn't have the ability to throw. I'm extremely on the opposite side of that
Yeah.
argument.
I'm not even gonna argue with it or
yeah, because I
about
mean
it
you can't make any of those
it
statements.
doesn't
But here's the argument.
it doesn't make any sense.
Here's the argument that I'll take, and this is, or the not the argument, but this is the point that I'll take. So, as a very avid baseball fan, we grew up in the steroid era. I mean, we had Jose Canseco, Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, all those guys. Steroids definitely made them hit the ball farther. No question about it. At the end of the day, they still had to hit the ball. So, when it comes to the axe throwing, if Tyler's the one that is directly involved in game theory, creating the games and the concepts and stuff like that, it does nothing to make him throw better on said target. He still has to throw the axe. He still has to hit the things to win. Knowing what the target is and being a part of that, that's why they started talking about this in, when did they start talking about it? March?
I think it was like February or March.
February or March?
When the
so that way
rules came
everybody had, the knowledge of this far in advance while they were creating and fine-tuning whatever rules they were going to do.
Yeah.
So to say that somebody shouldn't be able to throw because they assisted in developing whatever rules and stuff, still have to throw the axe, you still have to hit the circle.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. I just keep saying, like if just because you made the rules doesn't make you any better at them. Like that's like saying like the guy that invented Monopoly is not allowed to play Monopoly.
Yeah.
Because obviously he's going to win because he has played the game before.
Yeah.
And he got to play it before other people because he created it. So now he's just obviously better than everybody else at it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just don't understand how that even, why people even think that would be an advantage. You can't play defense. You can't hack the game. You can't, there's a judge. You can't cheat. That it just doesn't, I don't know. I can't come up with a reason why you think that because somebody else knew the rules before you did by
so here's the
small amount of time.
Here's the argument, or here's another way to look at it. We started throwing in 2019.
COVID. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, 2019. Troy Goss started throwing in January.
Oh, we can't throw anymore.
Should we have not been able to throw because we knew the rules of the sport
he didn't even
before?
He'd never even seen it. He didn't even know.
So
we definitely shouldn't be able to.
Kind of the same thing.
Yeah. Your Honor, I rest my case. No more questions.
Cabrio lawyer.
So, but I don't know. I think we complained about enough things. We didn't eat anything on this podcast, which is a bummer. I don't have anything nearby except for a bottle of water from a few days ago, probably.
I had Burger King before I got here. That's not great. It's okay.
I'm gonna go eat after this. So,
well, on the food subject, okay. Yesterday I went and snagged Arby's when I was on my way after our league before we had this big group in, and I snagged some Arby's and I came back and I ordered the mozzarella sticks from Arby's, and got back. I sat down. I ate one, and I told Amanda. I said, "You know what? I order these every time I come to Arby's, and each time, I think I expect them to like get better. Okay. And each time I'm disappointed because I thought, well, maybe they just made them wrong the last time. No, they're just not good. They're just not good, and I keep ordering them, so I'm going to try to not do that in the future.
You don't like them, huh? I like them. But I also haven't been to Arby's in
I think a year, maybe I think it comes down to like the marinara sauce isn't that great, and
see, I don't even mess with marinara, so
it's just not. They're just not great. They're not terrible, but I just expect them to get better, and they don't get better. However, I was a fan of those crispy chicken tacos from Taco Bell, but now they're going away. So,
well, yeah, they're always going away. Sad. That's how Taco Bell works.
They're finally taking the McDonald's approach with the McRib. They're creating supply and demand. Engineering supply and demand is probably the better term. So.
Yeah, they and then they're having people vote on what they come back, so then they kind of have a good idea of what they should bring back. I don't know. I think they obviously got something figured out.
Yeah, for sure. So next tournament later this week is Titantown and Farthrow. Titantown sanctioned, Farthrow is unsanctioned. But yeah,
both happening this weekend. So I'm sure we'll have some stats and things after to talk about.
Yeah, shortly after those is through Ohio. Well, not shortly, like a month later.
Where are you staying
this weekend?
Yeah,
undecided.
What are your options?
So options are Ryan and I were tent camping at
you're not doing that. So next, what's option 2?
Option 2 was Brett was going to bring up his camper. However, they discovered a major mold problem and had to completely rip it out or gut it out and redo the inside.
His new camper?
No, he had a fifth wheel.
Oh, okay. All right.
So the people who owned the property were going to bring up another camper, which they were going to charge us for, which I'm not opposed to paying for, but it's basically the same price as getting a hotel per day. So like $300-$400 a night. So But yeah, so we've looked at a couple different things, but
Yeah.
we're not opposed to it. Ryan seems very like wanting to tent camp. So we'll see how that
Well,
goes.
yeah, that sounds awful.
Yeah, it's gonna be real hot. But
Yeah, I don't really know what my plan is either, if I'm being honest.
you don't.
I mean, I have some options. I got options too, but I'll be honest, all of my options sound better than any of yours. So, um, there's that. So I got that going for me, but I don't have anything set in stone.
Yeah, I
So we'll
know.
see.
I know that the Wellmans had mentioned like maybe having like they met this guy who lives there. Through Dustin made a handle for him,
Yeah.
and his daughter's going to school in Michigan, and they connected that way. And so they're staying with that gentleman. They had mentioned the possibility of seeing if we could stay with them. But yeah, nothing.
So Kyle's homeless for the
In stone.
weekend. Got
I
it.
mean, if you guys don't have anything, that the camper that the people who own the building will sleep 5 people, and it would be a lot cheaper than
If you get more people.
if we got more people. Yeah, but
Okay.
I think
I'll keep that in mind. I'll add that to my long list of options.
Yeah, yeah. Or there are some cities that are like 30, 40 minutes outside of town. Actually, I did find one VRBO that was like actually very affordable.
Because you're driving.
Yeah. Yep.
That also sounds terrible. All right. Well, yeah,
I'm
so
driving, at least from what my knowledge is, I'm driving to Indianapolis, and then Ryan's driving from there. So.
All right. Well, maybe we'll do a podcast there. We'll see.
Yeah, I'll definitely have my stuff
Yeah,
with me.
I'll bring
and
the
then,
stuff.
Also going to try to fit some dad water in as well. So probably bring a couple variety packs of dad water, if not maybe more than a couple variety packs of dad water. So hit us up. Maybe we'll have dad water. Worst case, we'll get mom water for sure. So, but yeah.
Yeah, so we'll catch you guys probably at Titan Town. If not,
yeah, we'll do another one in between.
Yeah, if not, we'll do another episode like this. We got to figure out a good time to start doing them and just like
do lock it down,
because we want to do them after the tournament, but it's so hard.
It is. It is. I think the best one was like doing it the day we got there.
Yeah, that makes the most sense.
Doing it the day we got there, talking about like the tournament beforehand, and then then we can talk about what happened at the next one or in between or whatnot.
So maybe we do that, and then maybe we just make like a graphic to show like who ended up winning.
Yeah. Another thing I had thought about doing too, and I think I'm sure I can do it, is I'd thought about pre-building the intro portion into its own slide, and then doing a live stream for this, because then we could have like taken people's chats and stuff like that and asked questions and talked about that stuff. Maybe we can do something like that in between.
Yeah, we still just. The problem is we still like have to have. Oh yeah, in between that would be fine.
Yeah.
We could definitely do that. And then we could still record it and still put it out there. So.
Yeah, because I mean, we can just run it straight to YouTube and the Facebook page, and I would prefer. I prefer to just go to YouTube, and then it can stay there, and we can take the audio and run it through Spotify too.
We can just use Restream.
Yeah, the only thing is it just depends on if we want to increase viewership on YouTube, or if we even care about that. I mean, regardless, we would have to have an insane amount of viewership to ever produce any actual income from this.
If I think just if people hopped on, would be fine. So we would do Facebook and YouTube at least for the first one.
Yeah.
So all right, so maybe we'll do that. we'll try those two options. We'll try a Titantown, doing it the day that we get there, because there's a women's tournament Thursday.
Oh, nice. What time are you guys getting? Wow.
Oh, we get in early.
Holy cow.
We're early Thursday.
Cracked. You're early Thursday. Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll need to skip league Wednesday and plan to be there. Because, I mean, the drive isn't terrible from Indianapolis. It's actually a nice drive. The only thing that sucks is like an hour in, we hit Chicago a little bit, but that kind of sucks. But
we land at lunchtime. We land in the middle of the day, so then I think we're just going to have to rent a car and then drive from Milwaukee.
Oh, I thought Tyler was picking you up. Or maybe that conversation never happened and I just thought of it in my head.
I mean, I'll message him. I'll take a ride, but I don't think that's a thing.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so maybe we could do the a pre one there, women's tournament. Maybe then whoever wins the women's tournament could be on.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm game with that.
And then we could do the other stuff. So depending upon time, maybe we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we'll catch you guys for the next episode.
Yeah.
And yeah.
All right. We'll see you guys later.